Okay, the reason why I've been doing dividing fractions is we're leading up into something. We're going to be discussing ratio, rate, and unit rate next week, soon. And ratio, that's a relationship between two values, and you set up usually as a fraction. And then we have rates like miles per gallon or dollars per pound. They have different units. And then we have this thing called unit rate. And unit rate is a rate, but it has 1 in the denominator. And how we get that answer is just dividing. Making this fraction here, just dividing it. Like 64 divided by 2 is 32. All right, and why we want unit rate is because on unit rates, they're easy to compare. For example, which one is faster, 120 miles per 3 hours or 150 miles in 5 hours? Which one's faster? Well, you make it into a unit rate. So 1 hour, they both have 1 hour. And this one, 40 miles per hour, 30 miles per hour. This is the faster one. This is faster than this. And that's why we like unit rate, especially when we go to the store and buy things. We want to know the unit price is what we want to look for. That's why we do division, where we're learning division of fractions. And even though we may not have our workbook out or using that right now, this is what we're doing. Complex fractions and unit rates. Complex fractions is what we're going to talk about. And you can see where they deal with it in here. These are the type of problems that we'll be dealing with. And so this is all in your textbook. And for example, here's one right here. And it says, Josiah can jog 1 1/3 miles in 1/4 hour. Find his average speed in miles per hour, 1 hour. So sometimes we're going to have to divide, and here it is right here. Here's a work. And sometimes we'll have to divide fractions. A fraction divided by a fraction. Okay, now that we've discussed dividing fractions, let's talk about complex fractions. Now, to solve complex fractions, we rewrite the fraction if it's some number divided by another number. We go ahead and change it into this form. In other words, instead of being vertical, we make it horizontal. We change this symbol, divide, fraction bar, into a division symbol. So we'll just do a few examples. Here's our first one, 2, and a fraction bar, 2/3. 2 over 2/3. And I'll make sure I'll make this a little bit darker. Okay, we need to rewrite that. So you would rewrite that as the top number. Now we'll use the division symbol, because that's what this is right here. That's the division symbol. And then we have our bottom number. That is how you set it up. That's how you set it up. And then remember, to solve this, it would just be, make this a fraction. Go ahead, change this, you're going to multiply by the reciprocal. So how does this work? Oh, the 2's reduce. And your answer ends up being just, what's that, 3? 3 over 1, which is just 3. And that's your answer. Okay, we'll do 3 more examples. So we have 3/4, fraction bar, 2. All right, so we have our first fraction, 3/4. This is divided by our bottom number. So we're just rewriting it. So this is 3/4. Remember, multiply, reciprocal. When dividing, multiply by the reciprocal. So that's going to be, that's a 1, so it's 1/2. And then we can solve it from there. But let's go on to the next problem. Let's just get them set up. So we have 1/6 over 2/3. 1/6 over 2/3. Or that's divided by 2/3. So how do we rewrite this? Start with our first fraction, 1/6. This is division symbol, right? This is division symbol. And 2/3. We just rewrite it. Now, we freeze this, keep it. Remember, make division into multiply by the reciprocal. And then you can solve it from there. Okay, the last one, we'll go back and figure out the answers just a minute. And the last one, now sometimes it may be a mixed number. So 4.5. Now remember, when on a mixed number, this first fraction, need to make it to a fraction. So we have, you know what, I could just rewrite that. Okay, 4.5, I'll make it simpler, sorry, divided by, and then we have our 1/4. Okay, so I rewrote it. Now, this needs to be a fraction. So you have to do the times and the plus. 2 times 4 is 8, plus 1 is 9. See that? I have to make it to a fraction. Then, I'm going to multiply by the reciprocal. All right, so you just changed a complex fraction into a multiply problem. You just rewrote it, and then rewrote it again, basically, to a multiply problem. Let's go back and find the answers to our examples. So we did the first one there. There's the second one. We ended up with this, and there's nothing to reduce. So if I go straight across, 3 times 1 is 3. 4 times 2 is 8. On the next one, we made it into this problem. Notice that 3 and 6 can reduce. Or if you want to, you can... Okay, you know what? I'm just going to go straight across. 1 times 3 is 3. 6 times 2 is 12. And that can reduce, because 3 goes into 12. 3 goes in here once. 3 goes into 12, 4. And I could have reduced this. I just didn't want to mess up my notes. That's all. All right, going to the next one. So, you know what? I'm just going to go straight across again. You could probably reduce. I would probably reduce right here. But if you did not, 9 times 4, 36. 2 times 1 is 2. Half of 36 is 18. So, that is how we solve complex fractions.